Good morning, all. I'm Doug Apple, Chair of the Rent Guidelines Board, and I'd like to welcome you today to this public hearing of the New York City Rent Guidelines Board. This is the last of 5 public hearings to consider comments. Oh, it's not working?
You got it.
Okay, can you hear okay now?
Yeah, you just got it.
I'll get close. This is the last of 5 public hearings, as well as 7 other meetings, to consider comments concerning proposed rent adjustments for leases for apartments, lofts, hotels, and other housing units, subject to the Rent Stabilization Law of 1969 and the Emergency Tenant Protection Act of 1974. These adjustments will affect leases commencing between October 1, 2025 and September 30th through September 30th, 2026. I will now take roll call. Please respond if present. Hennesis Aquino. Alex Armlovich.
Present.
Robert Ehrlich.
Present.
Arpit Gupta. No. Reed Jordan.
Present.
Alex Schwartz.
Present.
Christina Smith. No. Adon Saltram. Not present. And Doug Apple. Let the record show that I am indeed present. With that, we do have a quorum for today's meeting. Outside of the public hearings, like today, we're accepting comments on the proposed guidelines. You can submit written, audio, and video comments for the board to review through today, June 27th. Instructions on how to submit these comments will be available at the board's website at nyc.gov/RGB, by email at ask@rgb.nyc.gov, or by calling RGB at 212-669-7480. Our final vote on the guidelines will take place on Monday, June 30th, starting at 7 p.m. at El Museo del Barrio at 1350 Fifth Avenue at 104th Street. Doors will open at 6 p.m. The public may attend in person or may watch the vote live by streaming it on RGB's YouTube channel. To find out how, visit the RGB website, call us call us at 212-669-7480. Before we proceed, I'd like to go over the rules and procedures for those who are testifying before the board. If you wish to speak, you must confirm with RGB staff at the registration table located right outside here. Speakers will not be called if they have not checked in at the registration table. I would try to call several names in advance to let you know that you will be soon to be called up to speak, and we do have a microphone and a podium right here for you to speak at. If you have materials to distribute to the board, please give them to RGB staff sitting at the sign-in tables near the entrance. I will attempt to alternate speakers between tenants and owners, but this may not always be possible. In order to accommodate as many speakers as possible, each speaker will have 2 minutes to give their testimony. In addition, 2 minutes of speaking time will be given to those speakers utilizing interpretation services. To help speakers keep track of time, we have a clock. We'll start the clock when you begin speaking. The clock will beep once when the speaker has 30 seconds left. We'll continue beeping when the allotted 2 minutes are up. If you are still speaking at the end of 2 minutes, I will ask you to wrap up your testimony. Staff are available to assist you with the mic and to remind you when your allotted time is up. I understand that many speakers have a passion and speak from the heart. We want to hear all of what you have to say. However, we do ask that you be respectful, not make any overt physical threats towards members of the board or others, and keep your comments germane to the issue at hand. Any type of language beyond this will not be tolerated, and if you continue to use it, I may ask you to stop speaking. We expect many speakers, and the board wants to hear from as many of you as possible in the limited time we have for this hearing. This hearing does run till 12 o'clock, but anybody who's signed up before 12 will be able to speak. We understand it may be difficult to say everything you want us to hear in just 2 minutes, but please understand it's our responsibility to try to make sure that everyone who has come has time to be heard. Thank you for your cooperation. The board is looking forward to hearing your comments regarding proposed rent adjustment guidelines. Now we'll translate to Spanish.
Buenos días. Me gustaría darles la bienvenida a esta audiencia pública de la Junta de Normas de Alquiler de Nueva York y agradecerles por la presencia. Esta es la última de 5 audiencias públicas realizadas para tomar en cuenta los comentarios sobre los ajustes de alquiler propuestos para los alquileres de apartamentos, lofts o altillos, hoteles y otras unidades de vivienda sujetas a la Ley de Estabilización de Alquileres del 1969 y la Ley de Protección de Emergencia para Inquilinos del 1974. Estos ajustes afectarán a los alquileres a partir del 1 de octubre del 2025 hasta el 30 de septiembre del 26. Ahora pasaré lista. Por favor, responda si está presente. Génesis Aquino. Alex Armlovich, presente. Robert Ehrlich, presente. Arpit Gupta. Reed Jordan, presente. Alex Schwartz, presente. Doug Apple, sí, presente. Que consten actas que hemos logrado un quórum. Además de esta audiencia pública, también aceptamos comentarios sobre las normas propuestas fuera de nuestras audiencias públicas. Pueden presentar comentarios escritos en audio y en video para que la Junta los revise hasta el día de hoy, 27 de junio. Las instrucciones sobre cómo presentar esos comentarios estarán disponibles en el sitio web de la Junta en nyc.gov/rgb, por correo electrónico @ask@rgb.nyc.gov o al llamar al RGB al 212-669-7480. La votación final sobre las normas se llevará a cabo el lunes 30 de junio a partir de las 7 de la noche en el Museo del Barrio, que se encuentra en la 1230 de la Quinta Avenida en la calle 104, en Manhattan. Las puertas se abrirán a las 6 de la tarde. El público podrá asistir en persona o seguir la votación en directo a través del canal de YouTube de la RGB. Para enterarse de cómo hacerlo, visite el sitio web de la RGB, nyc.gov/RGB, o llame al RGB al 212-669-7480 entre las 9 de la mañana y las 5 de la tarde. Antes de continuar con sus declaraciones, me gustaría repasar las normas y procedimientos para quienes declaren ante la Junta. Si desean declarar, deberán confirmar su presencia con el personal de la RGB en la mesa de inscripción situada cerca de la entrada de este salón. No se llamará a aquellos que no se hayan inscrito con el personal de la mesa de inscripción. Hoy contamos con la presencia de la traductora. Intentaré anunciar varios nombres con antelación para que sepan que pronto se les llamará para declarar. Si tienen material que desean distribuirle a la Junta, deben entregárselo al personal de la RGB que se encuentra en la mesa de inscripción, cerca de la entrada. Intentaré alternar entre inquilinos y propietarios para que ambos puedan declarar, pero esto no siempre será posible. Para darle cabida al mayor número posible de declarantes, cada uno dispondrá de 2 minutos para declarar. Si se concederán 2 minutos adicionales a los declarantes que utilicen servicios de interpretación. Para ayudar a los declarantes a controlar su tiempo, disponemos de un reloj que verán acá en la tarima. Lo pondremos en marcha una vez que los declarantes empiecen a declarar. El reloj emitirá pitidos una vez que a los declarantes les queden 30 segundos y este seguirá sonando cuando se haya agotado los 2 minutos asignados. Si los declarantes siguen hablando después de los 2 minutos, les pediremos que concluyan rápidamente su declaración. Entiendo que muchos declarantes se expresan con pasión y desde el corazón. Nos gustaría escuchar todo lo que tengan que decir. Sin embargo, le pedimos que sean respetuosos, que no hagan ninguna amenaza física hacia los miembros de la Junta o hacia personas ajenas. No se tolerará ese tipo de lenguaje y si continúan haciéndolo después de habérseles advertido, es posible que les pida que dejen de hablar. Esperamos que hayan muchos declarantes entre ustedes y la Junta desea escuchar al mayor número posible en el tiempo limitado del que disponemos para esta audiencia. Entendemos que puede ser difícil decir todo lo que quieran que oigamos en apenas 2 minutos, pero por favor entiendan que es nuestra responsabilidad asegurarnos de que todos los que se hayan tomado el tiempo de venir aquí y declarar tengan la oportunidad de que se les escuche. Gracias por su colaboración. La Junta desea verdaderamente escuchar sus comentarios sobre las normas propuestas para el ajuste de los alquileres. Gracias.
Gracias, thank you. Okay, let me call the first several witness speakers to come up. Jennifer Laurie, followed by Elon Rabinowitz, and Pilar de Jesus. Jennifer, please.
Very nice to be first. Thank you. My name is Jenny Laurie. I am the Executive Director of Housing Court Answers. We
Could you
provide...
speak, yeah, I think the mics are a little bit echoey in here, so if you get a little closer to the mic.
Okay, how's that?
Better, thank you.
Okay, great. We provide support and legal information to tenants and landlords without attorneys through a hotline and information tables in the city's housing court. We talk to about 200 people a day, most of whom are tenants facing eviction for non-payment of rent. We focus most of our work on preventing evictions, connecting tenants to emergency rent resources and legal services. Of the total number of tenants we assisted in the current fiscal year ending Monday, who either had non-payments or called us because they were behind on their rent, over 20,000 were rent stabilized. Their average rent was about $1,500 a month, and the average arrears was $15,000. Tenants with a rent of $1,500 per month, even though they owe a shit ton of money, excuse my French, their evictions can be prevented. New York City has some great tools for eviction prevention. We have the one-shot deal, which provides grants and loans to pay back rent for those who can afford their rent going forward, and FEPS and city FEPS, which pay rent arrears and ongoing rent for families and single adults on public assistance or poverty-level incomes. These programs work best for tenants with rent-stabilized leases for obvious reasons. Our affordable housing ecosystem is about to get really ugly if Donald Trump's budget passes, the federal budget. The city faces a loss of $4 billion in federal support for subsidy programs. And so I urge the board to do a rent freeze, as I do most years, but this year's I think it's particularly urgent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Ilan Rabinowitz, followed by Pilar de Jesus. Sir.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the board again. I'm here today not to ask for anything, a specific decision, although I do think the data backs the need for an increase given the rising costs and the testimony from groups like the Furman Center and the Community Protection Program and others. But what I'm here to ask for is honesty. Each hearing I come here and I listen to a tenant rep or a tenant advocate say that there are programs to help landlords. All we have to do is open our books. As somebody who has opened their books 4 years in a row, I can tell you there are no programs. I've been to the it took me 3 years to get DHCR to tell me that there is a hardship program. I submitted 4 years of applications to that hardship program. Each year, it's rejected, not based on the finances that I provide or the spreadsheets or the hundreds and hundreds of pages of documents I have to submit in quadruplicate for each of my units. Nothing online, nothing digital in 2025. Don't ask me why. They don't look at any of that. It sits on somebody's desk for 8 months. At the end of those 8 months, they look at it and they say, you did it in blue ink instead of black ink. You refinanced your house and it's now in the name of an LLC instead of the name of your wife. That's a sale. I'm like, no, it's not. I own the LLC, my wife owns the LLC, we still own this property. Another 8 months go by. They look at it and they go, you're right. Actually, that's not a sale. But we lost the paperwork showing that you bought the house on the date that you say you bought the house. Rejected. How do I appeal that? Go to court. On a $1,300 a month rent, 6% is the most the hardship program will give me. You have several lawyers on stage there. How much do you think an Article 72 hearing would cost me? How much would I have to spend on lawyers to get a few $100s in rent increase? The math's not hard. I would be spending decades of rent to get a few $100s more a month. It doesn't make sense. There are no programs. So when tenants come up here and they say there's a program, or they talk about NOI 5% being guaranteed, please call them out, at least or in the final order when you say something. Encourage our state officials to actually put together a real program, because even DHCR admits this program does not exist. Thank you.
Thank you. Pilar de Jesus, followed by Hannah Lawson and Kevin A. Jones. Ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Pil de Jesus, and I testify today not only as a tenant, but as a tenant advocate, but as someone who has personally experienced housing insecurity. I know what it feels like to fear eviction. I know what it feels like what it does to your body, your nervous system, your spirit. Housing instability is more than an economic harm, it's trauma, and I speak today for every tenant in the city who is suffering silent. Tenants do not need a rent increase, tenants need a rent freeze or a rent rollback. Every year, this board listens to landlords claim that they're struggling, yet this is the only business in New York City where private owners can go to the city to demand guaranteed profits. The facts are clear. Your own data shows landlords' income increased by 6.2% while expenses rose only 4.5%. That's not hardship, that's profit. Meanwhile, tenants are drowning. Over 50% of rent-stabilized tenants are rent-burdened. Over hundreds of thousands of housing court cases are pending in New York, and most tenants are going through that process unrepresented. Many are suffering in their buildings with chronic despair, heat outage, mold, lead, rodents, while landlords cash in and the city fails to enforce its own codes. This is psychological harm is real. Housing instability leads to anxiety, depression, chronic stress, and in some cases, suicide. You are not just voting on numbers, you are voting on people's lives. The same landlords who say they can't survive are lobbying for and benefiting from massive policies like City of Yes, which will open floodgates for more high-end development. They've received billions in public subsidies through 421A, J51, and now 485X. They exploit loopholes like the MCIs and the IAIs to raise rents and displace longtime tenants. Another thing, you have the legal authority to do a rent rollback. The New York State Constitution, Article 17, says, you're obligated to protect the needy. And the way I interpret that, you're not doing that. And so, I would hope the public reserves their right to possibly consider filing an Article 78 if you do vote in an increase, because in my opinion, the way I read the New York State Constitution, Article 17, you are violating a New York State Constitution by not protecting the needy, and your data is showing you that, and the tenants are testifying to that. And I really, really, really want to encourage that the board considers a rent freeze. I mean, I'd really like to see a rent rollback, but I know it's a lot of numbers that can't be done, but you need to really consider a rent freeze and stop giving the landlords more profits. You're not their bank. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Hannah Lawson, followed by Kevin A. Jones and Dutch de Carvalho. Ms. Lawson.
My name is Hannah Lawson. I spoke to you all 10 days ago at the meeting, lobbying for a rent freeze, and I have to admit that I made a mistake. We do not need a rent freeze. We need a rent rollback. As the daughter of a landlord back in California, I was really confused by the statements made by the two landlords who spoke at our last meeting. My dad has always said that the rental income is irrelevant. His real gains come from the equity of the property itself. So when these landlords claimed that they were losing money on their properties, I did some research to understand why, and what I found was quite appalling. Let's start with Ron Cohen. Of the 12 buildings I found on the HPD website owned by Ron, only one is rent stabilized with a total of 9 units. If he's seeing such a loss, he can raise the rent on the buildings that aren't stabilized and save his breath at these meetings. Or maybe he'd make more rental income if he'd address any of the 193 open HPD violations for mold, mice infestation, roaches, and you guessed it, bed bugs. And Ron is a fellow Fordham alum. How disappointing. His behavior certainly does not represent our alma mater's commitment to the alleviation of poverty, the promotion of justice, and the protection of human rights as said in their mission statement. What about Alon Rabinowitz? Did you know that Alon only owns one building and it's not even rent stabilized? Did you know that he's the vice president of a publicly traded company on the NASDAQ, Datadog Incorporated? Did you know that their revenue from 2024 was $2.68 billion? That's right, billion with a B. I think Alon can handle a water bill for a 5-unit building. If this was down to a majority vote, we wouldn't even need these meetings. And since I've just effectively eviscerated the only two arguments I heard last week for a rent increase, we essentially have a very easy decision to make. So make the right decision. Roll back the rent.
Thank you. Thank you. Kevin A. Jones, followed by Dutch de Carvalho and Margot Marin. Mr. Jones.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Jones. I'm president of the Tenants Association in a rent-stabilized building in Washington Heights. I brought along copies of my remarks with footnotes, and I say without condescension and with respect that it makes sense that people and their businesses pursue their for-profit interests to the fullest extent possible. It also stands to reason that our public officials, those elected or appointed, have the range of perspective to govern, regulate, levy taxes, create a budget to benefit all of us. For instance, Con Edison is a for-profit utility company, and they're regulated by the Public Service Commission. The rates charged are based on the reality of Con Ed's need for a reasonable profit and the public's essential need for electric and gas. It's my understanding that this striking of a balance between private and public interest is the reason for the Rent Guidelines Board. We need to question why real estate prices relative to other industries got so high over the decades. It can't simply be a question of supply and demand. We need to have more transparency in the real estate and finance industries. If we don't, all our work in rezoning and increasing housing supply will be wasted. We need to use our oversight and regulatory tools to curb the dynamics of excessive housing costs. We need more scrutiny of tax cuts and other programs for housing development so that we have money to help landlords who demonstrate their financial distress. We can't help landlords in distress by continuing to raise our rents. We need a rent freeze now. A regulated apartment should yield both financial security for the tenant and reasonable profit for the landlord. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dutch de Carvalho, followed by Margot Marin and Mercedes Escortto. Sir.
Good morning. My name is Dutch de Carvalho, and I'm a lifelong New Yorker, a New York City public school teacher, and I live in rent-stabilized affordable housing, and I'm here to tell the board to freeze the rent. Year after year, as tenants, we are forced to watch as this inhumane board remains completely dedicated to the fantasy that the landlords are struggling. And I really mean fantasy, because somehow you look at data which shows that landlords had a 12% increase in NOI, and still you have the audacity to suggest rent increases as high as 7.75%. Every indicator of economic instability and suffering are up. The only way I was able to stay in the neighborhood I grew up in as a city worker is because I got off an affordable apartment waiting list. Our ability to live should never be dictated by the luck of a lottery system or a group of people who refuse to open their books and show us their so-called struggle. If these landlords are struggling so badly, they can do what they tell all of us to do. They can get a job. They could even apply for benefits. And I don't mean the kind of benefits that this board hands out to them year after year for no effort. I mean the kind where you have to go stand in line at a benefits office, wait for hours, and then get denied because you make 50 cents too much. They can try waiting months for medical coverage and years on affordable housing wait lists. And while they do all of that, they can learn what it's like to work tirelessly and never get ahead. They can finally experience what it's like to face a board of people who are so out of touch with reality that they actually look at the millions of struggling New Yorkers and instead decide that it's the landlords buying $25 million penthouses who are having a hard time. It's shameful that you believe that the backbone of this city, the child care providers, the nurses, the sanitation workers, and the teachers like myself, the city workers, are responsible for lining the pockets of landlords. I can only dream that for once you have a shred of integrity and choose to help the New Yorkers who actually run this city and not just the ones who profit off of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, one second, ma'am. We're a little technical problem, apparently.
¿Necesita traducción o no? Oh, so, yeah. ¿Necesita traducción?
Yo voy a hablar en español.
Okay, so la respuesta es que sí.
Perdón.
Great. Thank you. Please proceed.
Empieza, señora.
Muy buenos días a todos los presentes. Mi nombre es Margot Marin.
Good morning to everyone here. My name is Margot Marin.
Soy de la organización Make and Roll.
I'm from the Make the Road organization.
Vivo en Elmhurst, Queens por muchos años
I've lived in Elmhurst, Queens for many years
con mis 3 hijos nacidos aquí y soy madre soltera
with my 3 children that were born here, and I am a single mother.
que he trabajado sola para sacarlos adelante a mis 3 hijos y pagando mis impuestos.
Y pagar mis?
Pagando mis impuestos.
I have worked tirelessly to have my children progress and go on ahead, and I have also been paying my taxes.
Vivo en un apartamento de renta controlada hace 23 años,
For the last 23 years, I have lived in a rent-controlled apartment,
el cual pago $1,733.50 de renta,
and I pay $1,733.50 in rent.
pero resulta que perdí mi trabajo y estoy con 4 meses de renta atrasada.
But it turns out I lost my job, and I am behind on my rent by 4 months.
En tiempos pasados tuve la ayuda de un voucher para la guardería de mis hijos,
So the last time I had the help of a vouchers for my children's aftercare,
el cual me quitaron alegando que no recibían terapia ni un tratamiento médico.
but they removed it. They got rid of it because they said that they were not receiving therapy or medical treatment.
El 15 de marzo del año presente,
March 13th of this year,
cuando le pedí que vinieran a ver el mojo que causa asma que tenía en el baño,
when I asked them to come and look at the mold that I had in my bathroom that was causing asthma,
el cual le hace daño a mis 3 hijos que tienen asma,
which severely affects my 3 children who suffer from asthma,
me pegaron los papeles de la renta fuera de mi apartamento.
they posted the papers about the rent that I owe on the outside of my door of my apartment,
El cual mi hijo mayor encontró cuando
Which-
llegó de la escuela.
my older son saw when he came home from school.
En ese momento él me llamó
At that moment, he called me.
con mucha ansiedad
He was very anxious.
y yo tratando de consolarlo le dije, ¿qué te pasa?
I was trying to console him. I asked him what was
Mi
going on.
hijo me dijo, mamá, ¿por qué me ocultaste esto?
My son tells me, Mom, why did you hide this from me?
Le dije, ¿de qué me hablas?
I asked him what he was talking about.
Y me dijo, mamá, yo voy a dejar la escuela y te voy a ayudar.
He said, Mom, I'm not going to go to school anymore. I'm going to help you out.
Me partió el alma porque trataba de ocultar todo eso a mis hijos.
And that broke my heart because I did try to hide that from my
Eso es lo
children.
que hace una madre por ellos.
Because that's what a mother does for her children.
Y por eso estoy aquí,
And that's why I'm here,
para pedirles a ustedes que son los de la Junta
to
que
ask, you
congelan la
members,
renta,
to ask you members of the board to freeze the rent.
ya que como yo, hay más personas con la misma o peores condiciones que yo.
Since, like me, there are many other people who have either similar or worse situations than mine.
Tenemos este dolor que cada año tenemos que sufrir, que vayan a subir la renta.
We suffer this pain that and the anxiety that every year you're going to raise the rent
Sin un buen servicio de mantenimiento
without decent maintenance service
a nuestros apartamentos
to our apartments
y soportando tantas humillaciones
and tolerating constant
por parte de
humiliation
los arrendatarios.
on the board of the on the behalf of the landlords.
Aparte de todo eso, nosotros también tenemos los gastos que son luz, comida,
On top of that, we also have
Y
added
nues-
expenses, food, electricity,
y nuestros salarios no nos alcanzan.
and our income is not enough.
Por todo esto, he tenido que buscar ayuda y la organización
Because,
Make and Roll
because,
me ha
of all
dado
this,
esperanza.
because of all of this, I had to look for help, and the organization Make the Road has provided hope for me,
Asesorándome por mis derechos como inquilina.
guiding me in regarding my rights as a tenant.
Viviendo 23 años, donde mis hijos nacieron,
Having lived in the same place where my children were born during the last 23 years,
y donde viven, y que de pronto me vean en la calle,
and that maybe in the future they can see me out on the street,
ya que he buscado mucha ayuda,
since I've looked for much help,
tocando puertas,
knocking on doors,
pidiendo dinero,
asking for money.
hoy vengo
Today I am here
a contar mi historia porque ahí,
To
en
tell-
Make and Roll,
to tell my story, because at Make the Road,
sí tuve esperanza.
I did have hope.
Y para que ustedes sepan lo que nosotros vivimos.
And for you guys to understand what our lives are like.
Gracias por haberme escuchado.
Thank you for listening to me.
¡Sí se puede!
Thank you. Thank you. Gracias. Mercedes Escortto, Stella Roan next, and then Wally Alpern follow. Ma'am,
Ready?
please.
I'm ready.
Hi, my name is Mercedes Escortto. I live at 1187 Anderson Avenue in the Bronx. My landlord is Equity Emerald.
Yo traduzco al inglés, señora,
Sí, mi
para
amor, sí, pero
la junta.
en inglés, yo creo que tú me traduzcas, porque a veces me pongo un poco nerviosa y no entiendo. En
Okay, so-
español es mejor.
Entiendo, eso tiene que hablar en
Ok,
español.
Exacto, perdón. Mi casero trató de comienzo, yo vivo en un edificio de renta controlada, estabilizada.
So I will start. I live in a rent-stabilized building, and my landlord began
A quitar la renta estabilizada.
to remove rent stabilization.
La fue a la corte a quitar el programa.
He went to court to remove the program,
Perdió el caso.
and he lost his case.
Después de eso, vino CASA, la organización ahora para la cual yo soy voluntaria,
After that, CASA came around, the organization that I am now a current volunteer for,
y nos explicó la situación de cómo eso se estaba llevando a cabo.
and they explained to us the situation, like how that was being done.
Porque nada nosotros sabíamos de qué él estaba tratando de quitar la renta estabilizada. No sabíamos nada. Ninguno en el edificio sabía nada de los
Because
inquilinos.
none of us knew that he was trying to remove the rent stabilization. None of us in the building knew that. None of us were aware of that.
Exacto. CASA no organizó y no hizo establecer una, ¿cómo se llama? Un tenant association.
CASA helped us organize and helped us establish what's it called, a tenant association.
Entonces, con ello nos refirieron al Bronx Legal Services,
So from then, they referred us to Bronx Legal Services
porque le contamos toda la reparación y todo el daño que nos hacía el casero.
because we explained to them all the repairs that needed to be done and all the damage that the landlord had done to us.
En mi apartamento yo estaba viviendo con mi mamá desde el 2020.
I had been living in my apartment since 2020 with my mother.
No, tengo 16 años viviendo en el apartamento.
Well, I've been living in my apartment for 16 years.
Pero a mi mamá me la traje en el 2020 cuando le dio el COVID.
But I brought my mother over in 2020 when she got COVID.
Pero ¿qué pasa? En ese tiempo mi mamá tenía 24 horas de servicio de home care.
But what's going on? At that time, my mom had a 24 hours home attendant service.
Exacto. Entonces, con la entrada de los médicos, de los terapistas, las enfermeras,
Exactly. So with the coming and goings of the doctors, the therapists, the nurses,
no llegaron chincha al apartamento.
our apartment got full of bed bugs.
Tuve entonces que llamar a mi hermano y decirle, tienes que venir a buscar a mi mamá.
I had to ask for help and call a friend to be like, you have to come and get my mom.
Porque la agencia de home attendant me dijeron que no podía mandar el servicio de home attendant por el bed bug porque no era saludable para ellas.
Because the home attendant service told me that they could no longer send home attendants because the bed bug situation was completely unhealthy for them.
Tuve que pagar $700 por cada exterminación porque el landlord no me hizo caso, no me hizo nada.
I had to pay $700 for each extermination because the landlord didn't do anything.
Exacto. Entonces, después de eso tampoco no nos arregla el apartamento,
Exactly. After that, he doesn't fix our apartments,
no pinta.
doesn't paint.
no nos da calefacción en el invierno, muy baja.
The heat is very low during the winter.
El agua caliente también.
The same thing with the hot water.
Me estresé demasiado, esa situación me estresó mucho.
I became very stressed. That situation stressed me out incredibly.
Exacto, me enfermé, me dio un stroke.
I got sick. I had a stroke.
Yo era trabajadora social de la ciudad por 30 años.
I was a city social worker for 30 years.
Y cuando vengo a darme cuenta que no puedo porque tengo que atender a mi mamá,
And when I realized I could not do it anymore because I had to take care of my mother,
me seguí enfermando porque no podía pagar las reparaciones.
I continued getting sick because I could not pay for the repairs.
Las reparaciones las hacía yo siempre en mi apartamento.
Las reparaciones?
Siempre las hacía yo en mi apartamento. Yo era que pagaba todo, el landlord no me reparaba.
I was always the one taking care of the repairs in my apartment. The landlord would not pay for anything.
Pero desde que me dio el stroke no pude más.
But once I had the stroke, I could not do that anymore.
Y tuve que retirarme.
And I had to retire.
Lo único que yo le pido a ustedes es que por favor, si ustedes pueden, son mediadores entre nosotros y el landlord, que por favor nos ayuden.
The only thing I'm asking of all of you, you guys are basically like the mediators between us and the landlord. I'm only asking you to help us.
Que frisen la renta por lo menos, si lo pudieran frizar por lo menos 2 o 3 años. Eso haría muy beneficioso en mi situación.
To please freeze the rent for at least 2 to 3 years because that would help everyone's situation.
Exacto, especialmente a mí porque mi retiro es controlado. Yo no tengo aumento.
Especially me because my retirement is based on a fixed income. I don't have enough.
So yo les ruego a ustedes que por favor
So I beg you, please,
no frisen la renta para yo poder sobrevivir porque no estoy viviendo.
please freeze our rent so that I can survive because I am not living.
Exactamente, y eso no es justo para una persona que trabajó tantos años aquí como trabajadora social que ahora en mi retiro esta sea mi vida, no es justo.
Exactly, and it's not fair for someone like me who spent 30 years of my life working as a social worker for the city that now I had to be forced to retire and I'm living on a fixed income. It's not enough.
Por favor, frísenos la renta. Gracias.
Please freeze the rent for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's fine.
Forgive me for being late. I'm never late, but it happened today. And I can't believe you're up to number 13 already. Well, I'm superstitious, but it's okay. I'm here. So I would like to read a quote to you from the State Comptroller, Thomas P. DiNapoli. And he says, New Yorkers tend to have a tough time finding a place where they can afford to live. Housing in New York State is expensive, among the costliest in the nation, reported by Mr. DiNapoli. And he's the state comptroller. I'm sure the city controller feels the same. My question is, what is fair and affordable housing? This term doesn't have a real basis in reality. High rents have drained the pockets and the hearts and souls of hard-working city and state workers. The average vendor on the street has a hard time living. The average sanitation teachers, myself, healthcare workers are being forced to pay rent that they really can't afford. They really can't afford. And it's draining their savings. Okay, affordable and fair is allowing me to live where I want to, regardless of my status, my age, my race, my finances. We're forced to go through a lottery. Now, when I left you the last time, I gave you an assignment. I don't remember any of you picking it up, but it had a packet with an envelope like this. Do any of you, you can raise your hand, you can shake your head, you can tell me if you've seen it. That means none of you saw it, because I did tell you that I was going to leave it.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah.
And I just want to show you the model that this city is built on. The city is built on this model. I'm sorry, folks behind me. And the first part of the model says, it says, first of all, paths to accessible housing in New York City. The first part of the model says private market. And this means many people with disabilities are priced out of the private market due to the high cost of accessible apartments. The second part is the housing lottery. Affordable housing lotteries offer cheaper, accessible apartments. High demand means the cost of success are low. This is discriminatory. I tried this housing lottery. They sent me all the way to Queens. Okay, I gave them all my paperwork, only to find out that I didn't qualify. And then they try to steal my daughter and they try to steal our picture ID. Okay, I tried Stuyvesant. I didn't have enough time to get into their system, so they knocked me out. Because I told them to text me or to call me. They did neither. And when I did see it in my email, they knocked me out. That's the first time. The second time, they did the same thing. Okay. The third part of the model is Section 8 vouchers. The Section 8 vouchers. And that is Section 8 vouchers cover 70% of rent. High demand means long wait lists to obtain one. The fourth part is the city shelter. Moving to a city shelter can lead to eligibility for other housing vouchers. The average length of stay is more than 1 year. Then you have the public housing. NYCHA has about 6,000 fully accessible units in this portfolio. The average wait time is more than 2 years. Now, these are the models in which we've been trying to survive by. It doesn't fit every tenant. Okay, the model of the lottery, that is the worst model I've seen. And if you know anything about education and short stories, there's an author called Shirley Jackson, and she wrote a short story called The Lottery. Look up that story, read it, and you'll find out why the lottery isn't a great thing. Okay.
If you could finish,
sorry,
ma'am,
I'm going to
please.
try to talk as
Okay.
fast
Thank you.
as I can. Okay, I don't qualify for STREE or DREE. I'm not disabled. When I was disabled, the minute I turned 66, they said, you're no longer disabled. How do they determine that? Then when I wanted to challenge them on it, the lady called me and said, Miss, don't bother. You're not going to get any more money. Okay, so that was that. I'm 70 years old. I'm living on a teacher's salary. Okay? How much more can they take out of my pension before they deplete my pension? And the people, as an aside, the people downstairs told me to tell you, please freeze the rent. And I don't even know these people. But this is what's going on. Everybody is saying to you. And I know the mayor and the rest of the politicians got your stronghold. I know they got a stronghold on you. But it's up to you, okay? And as far as landlords are predatory, greedy slumlords, okay? And this is a monopoly. You know everybody's played Monopoly. And the purpose of a monopoly is to own as many houses as possible. We do know that. This is at the crust of your problem. Landlords own too many houses. I can only live in one apartment, and I could barely live in that. Okay? But they can own
Thank you, ma'am.
5, 10 houses, but they can't take care of one. They're stealing from Peter to pay Paul and then feed Simon, and they're biting the hands that feed them. We are the people that make up this city. They get their money from us, and yet we can't get the needed repairs that we need. So I'm asking you to freeze the rent, put a cap on people that are 65 or older, and spare us this headache. And it's going to cost the city big time to try to straighten this problem out, and you're the only ones that can do it. And we're counting on you. We're really counting on you. And
Thank you.
use your HI. Don't let AI rule you. Use your HI, your human intelligence.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wally Alpern, Paula Rossi, followed by Percy Antonio Soler.
Hello. I just want to start out by just saying how much of an honor it is to stand in front of all these tenants who have given such great testimony. As a new resident of this city, I feel very lucky. Last year, when you guys chose to increase the rent by 5%, and made the mistake of suppressing the tenant organizers and city representatives who decided to protest that, you know, silenced a lot of powerful people. And now the tables have turned, and we are seeing tenant power rise in this city and in the state. And soon, those same assembly members, namely Zoran Mamdani and Assemblymember Marcela Martinez, are entering into greater power. And I just want to let you know that if you continue to fail to serve tenants who are so desperate for a rent freeze, so desperate to afford their homes, then soon you will be replaced by people who are willing to do that duty. I hope to talk directly to Christina today, but it seems that she hasn't bothered to show up. So I will extend this to all of you and say that you can no longer make snarky comments and talk down to tenants in this city and hope to keep your positions of power. Again, I will urge you, as all the other tenants here have today, to enforce a rent freeze on Monday, or else see your seats lost. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Paula Rossi, followed by Percy Antonio Soler and Christopher Vital. Ms. Rossi.
Hi, my name is Paula Rossi. The last time I did this, I think de Blasio was in office, my name is Paula Rossi. The last time I did this, de Blasio was in office, and there was I came, a gigantic room, and people screaming, rent rollback, rent freeze. You know, there was a rent freeze with de Blasio, the only time. And I think that if you can remember back then how mad and angry the people were, they're doing that again. And I definitely think we're going to have a new mayor that is on this issue. The landlord that did speak, I just want to say, when I make an investment and it goes wrong, I mean, I don't have anything really written, but anyway, when it goes wrong, I have to eat it, right? In the stock market, I get a car, it's a lemon, I have to eat that. You don't go into, you really shouldn't go into real estate thinking if you're a mom and pop real estate place, you're going to be becoming one of these guys that have those tall buildings. It's just not possible. My landlord, I've been with him for over 35 years. His children have taken over, and they're really just incredible. Horrible is the word. I live on a 5th floor walk-up. Like I said, I've been there for 35 years when he first bought the building. I've had no repairs since he bought the building and slapped some paint on it. So I just want to note that people in the same unit as me, this year it's a $30, they're asking me for $30 more, this $30. So the people below me, I think, are paying $5,000 for the same unit, right? You have to make over $100,000 to live in my tenement on 14th Street. It's a 5th floor walk-up. It sucks. If I had that money, I would never live in my apartment. But you know who live there? Kids, the NYU kids. Their parents come in August, and then they leave at the end of the year. So, you have to make something like 5 times the rent to even talk to my landlord now. So, who has that kind of money? I just don't understand. I grew up in New York City on the west side. It was a predominantly Italian neighborhood. There was no rent guideline boards. We paid what we could afford. I don't know. The landlords didn't seem to be too greedy. I just feel that the rent should be frozen. I don't think it's going to happen with you guys, but I'm sure the next time this goes around, maybe you won't be here. But I think it should be frozen because we really the landlords are getting so greedy. Yeah, I mean, open my landlord's books. I mean, there's only 2 rent-stabilized people on 14th Street. And he tried to get me to pay extra for he put in a new gas meter or something. Another $100 each room, right? But luckily, de Blasio did some sort of hocus pocus where if more than half of the building is market rate rent, they can't charge me anymore, right? So the greed is just incredible. I don't think you're going to roll back. But anyway, I just wanted to come here today to represent people like me who probably haven't come here because, the world is falling apart, and I'm disabled, and it's really hard to get here. I know you can do it on Zoom, but, people that are sick and disabled, it's like they have so many things on their plate. They just can't come and advocate for themselves, but I'm representing them. So the people that you're going to be hurting are people like me. So look into my eyes. I'm going to be maybe one day unaffordable in my apartment on a 5th floor walk-up. And I asked the landlord to move down to a lower floor. Yes, you can move down to a lower floor if you pay market rate rent, $5,000 a month, as if it was just, it's just, and every day someone can afford that. I grew up in the city. I love New York City. I think people in my age made the atmosphere of New York City to bring all the people here that love New York City. But it's just turning, even in my building, it's just turning into a turnover. There's no families. It's like parents pay for the kids. It's not a family neighborhood anymore because people can't afford the rent. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Percy Antonio Solar. Sir.
Yes. Mi nombre es Percy Soler.
Habla más hacia el micrófono, señor, o hable alto.
Mi
My name
nombre,
is Percy Soler.
soy miembro de la organización Make It On Road,
I'm a member of the Make the Road organization,
donde busqué ayuda para conocer mis derechos de inquilino.
where I looked for help to understand my rights as a tenant.
Vivo muchos años en el condado de Queens
I have lived for many years in Queens County,
y rento un apartamento hace muchos años,
and I have been renting an apartment for many years,
en la cual ahora me siento desalojado por acoso.
which right now I feel as if I'm under eviction due to harassment.
Hostigamiento y amenazado de quedarme en la calle
Harassment and threats to wind up out on the street
por exigir mis derechos de mantenimiento y llamar al 311.
for demanding my rights to have maintenance and also for calling 311.
Yo nunca recibí ningún papel de parte de la corte.
I never received any documents from the court.
Me presenté porque pensaba que estaba ocurriendo algo
I appeared because I thought something was happening,
y les pregunté a ellos qué está sucediendo.
and I asked them what's going on.
Ellos me dijeron que yo tenía un desalojo el 16 de junio,
They told me that I had an eviction scheduled for June 17th,
de la cual le dije que yo no sabía nada
and I answered I didn't know anything about that,
y que tampoco había recibido ninguna clase de papel.
and that I also had not received any type of document or notification.
Estuve el 13, un viernes,
I was there on the 13th, it was a Friday.
se le mandó por escrito para que el juez viera,
Se le mandó para escrito para que el juez viera
para que leyera lo que estaba pidiendo.
lo que usted estaba pidiendo.
Lo que yo estaba pidiendo.
Okay. So I sent a written letter to the judge so that the judge can understand what I was asking for,
Y él me lo denegó.
and he denied it.
Volví, regresé el lunes,
I went back on Monday.
volví a decirle y trayéndole más papeles que estoy enfermo, deshabilitado,
I went with more information, including documents showing that I am disabled
y que tengo un problema dentro de mi salud y no sé a dónde irme.
and that I suffer from health issues and that I don't know where else to go.
Por segunda vez me lo volvió y me lo denegó.
For the second time, the judge denied me again.
Estuve buscando un legal aid
I was looking for a legal aid,
y en los dos momentos
and on both occasions,
ningún legal aid fue a defenderme.
no legal aid went to defend me.
Yo no sé para qué ellos están trabajando en ese lado.
I don't know why they're working there.
No sé si fue por discriminación,
I don't know if it was due to discrimination.
no tengo absolutamente una idea.
I have no idea.
Pero sí estoy mal.
But I am not well.
Tuve que ir a médico psiquiatra,
I had to go to a psychiatrist,
al psicólogo,
a psychologist,
porque no puedo dormir.
because I cannot sleep.
Por favor,
Please,
congelen esa renta.
freeze that rent.
Las personas no podemos ahorita, basado a nuestro salario, pagar una cosa que van subiendo y subiendo.
People do not have enough salary to keep paying for something that keeps going up and up,
Mientras que los mismos landos nunca quieren arreglar nada.
while the landlords just never want to fix anything.
Yo creo que se están burlando de todos.
I think you're basically making like a mockery of us.
Y mi respeto para ustedes, espero que den una solución a
And
este
all due
problema.
respect to you guys, I hope you find a solution to this problem.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to remind everybody, if you want to speak, and we would encourage you to do so, to please sign up so we make sure we get you up here to speak.
Les quiero recordar a las personas que quedan, si quieren hablar, tienen hasta el 12, la 12 del día para inscribirse, por favor, si quieren hablar.
Thank you. Christopher Vatal, Julian Dillon, and Jacqueline Suisse. Mr. Vatal. Sir.
All right, thank you for your time. In the past, you used to have a representative from DHCR here and what have you. They've gotten rid of that?
Yeah. We
Yeah,
don't have one
okay.
today, sir.
Porque hay por ejemplo, hay un programa, antes podías ir a una organización que se llama, the Department of Finance. El Department of Finance tiene un programa que se llama DRE, D-R-E-E.
So,
Sí.
anteriormente uno podía ir al Departamento de Finanzas para un programa que se llama DRE. DRE.
Puede obtener
DRE.
un rent
Department of
freeze
Finance to apply
así,
for apartment
porque la
DREE.
ciudad le dan rent freeze a mucha gente que tiene disabilidades. No entiendo por qué nadie está.
Because the city provides
Dándote
programs for
un
people
montón
to
de
do
programas
rent
para
freeze.
ayudarte.
I don't know why you guys aren't
Okay.
getting this
No sé por
information.
qué.
I don't know why you're not getting that
Antes
information.
habían como representantes acá durante estos public hearings
Before there were representatives for those organizations during these public
that
hearings.
you could go and talk to, and they'd be much more beneficial. So I don't know why they don't do that anymore. Anyway, I'm
Call
clearly
311.
outnumbered here, but that's all right. It annoys me when I know that there's plenty of programs and things that are offered, and nobody mentions that during the testimony. You know, people should be aware of what's available when the city offers a ton of different benefits to struggling tenants. The other unfortunate thing actually is the city doesn't actually get involved until you're in housing court. If people go to their communities, community boards and what have you, not community boards, but community groups, they can't help you until there's an eviction notice and what have you. So it causes more stress, even though the city maybe should perhaps intervene before it gets to that level. Because there's a huge amount of rent arrears going on in this city. Now anyway, really quick thing. This is your price index of operating costs, correct? What was the average percent increase in costs that you guys came up with this past year? 6.3%. Clearly, you're not going to give us a rent raise that's even going to be close to matching that. When was the last time you guys gave a rent increase for 1 year rentals that matched or was more than the price index of operating costs percentage of costs increase? It was 9 years ago. 9 years ago. Since 2000, it's only happened 2 times. The reason why everybody's rent, especially if you're a new, I know there's a new tenant here, is because, for instance, in my building, which is 4311 49th Street in Queens, it's over 90% rent stabilized. I'm not like one of these other fool, phonies that comes in here and says he's got rent stabilized apartments when he doesn't. But for the buildings out in Queens, where are predominantly rent stabilized, I have tenants that have been there for 20 or 30 years because we actually did do our job and kept a nice building. We're struggling because you guys keep on making sure that rents don't even match our costs. And it makes me start thinking, why are you guys doing that? Is that just, it's not, is it, can it actually continue like this, or the businesses are going to fail? Clearly the businesses are going to ultimately fail. And the reason why is, unfortunately, normally I gave up coming to these hearings because I know that you guys never, ever, ever give a rent increase that matches the costs. But I came here because of what happened on Tuesday. And just really quickly, I'd like to just read the Housing for All platform from the Democratic Socialists of America. And trust me, I ain't no MAGA, and I hate freaking Trump. But the DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, have a housing platform on their website. You can go see it. And this is what it specifically says. We seek to counter the dangers we are facing by building on the insurgent tenant movement and further decommodifying housing and land. This can be done through canceling rent, closing eviction courts. Trust me, go to court, get yourself an attorney there. They will give you a free attorney. The free attorney can give you lots of ways to keep making at least so that it takes much longer for anybody to even have to collect rent. And, importantly, as landlords exit the market, using state action to acquire private property and transform into public, democratically controlled housing. That is the official platform from the DSA, which is our probable future mayor going to be following. So that means NYCHA, they're pushing for the increase of NYCHA, which, by the way, in 2018, thank goodness Letitia James actually put as the worst landlord in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Julian Dillon.
Hi, my name is Julian Dillon, and I work for Memorial Sloan Kettering. While my words today are independent of my employer, my ideals align with the concept of improving public health. I'm here to advocate for a rent freeze, or better still, a rent rollback. In recent reports, the U.S. Accountability Office has found that a $100 increase in the median rent is strongly correlated with a 9% increase in homelessness. Being homeless has a profound impact on people's physical and mental health. The cost of increasing rent is borne by all New Yorkers on multiple fronts. People, communities, local businesses are all negatively impacted. Freezing or rolling back the rent means spending less on mental health resources, and policing, and while improving community health. The New York Times recently reported that 78,000 people left New York from 2023 to 2024, another impact of increasing rents. In the most recent primary election that gained global attention is a mandate for affordable living. Freezing the rent is a compromise, and rolling back the rent would be justice. Please do the right thing and improve the lives of the many, and rather than lining the pockets of the very few. After this meeting, I'm going to go back to my job and contribute to the cutting-edge cancer research that will impact the lives of millions of Americans. We are the greatest city in the world, and let's live up to that.
Thank you. We still have a little bit of time left, and I believe Ms. Suisse, actually the last speaker that signed up. So anybody else who'd like to sign up, feel free to do so. We'll make sure we get you up here. We have a little bit more time.
La señora aquí es la última persona que se inscribió a hablar. Señores, de nuevo, tenemos más tiempo. Si quieren hablar, salgan afuera, inscríbese para poder escuchar sus comentarios.
Please, ma'am, proceed.
Okay. In here?
Yeah.
Okay. The rent is too high. We need a rent freeze. My son and I raised my son all by myself. And we moved here from California. So we need rent freeze, and we need the rent board to vote for a 0% increase this year for us. I'm disabled, and my son helps me. Sometimes when I fall, my son helps me to pick me up and put me on the bed and give me my medicine. So I hope you do the right thing and for my son and I, because my landlord, every time he sees me outside with my son, I ask him, here's money, do you want for the rent? And he says, no, I want you out. So he wants my son and I out. Where are we gonna go? I don't know. So, and I'm disabled and he helps me. So that that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take a short break, and if there's others who want to speak, please sign up, and we'll make sure you get up here.
Entonces, señores, vamos a tomar un descanso breve. Si quieren hablar, inscríbanse y después procederemos después del descanso. Gracias.
All right, we're going to get started. Assemblyman, I think you're up. Is it Assemblyman or council person?
I think it's Assembly for today.
But soon to be. Maybe. Likely.
Maybe or likely.
Probably.
Exactly.
Anyways, I'm sorry. We're going to start again. We have a few more speakers, so I'm going to call you up to the mic. And we're going to start with Assemblyman Harvey Epstein, former board member as well.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to the members of the Rent Guidelines Board to having additional meetings. I know how important this is. As folks may know, I served on the Rent Guidelines Board for 5 years as a tenant member and was part of the first rent freeze in New York City's history. And, you know, as someone who's a state representative and who sees New Yorkers all over the state, we can see that average day New Yorkers are struggling every single day. And we know that real wages continue to drop and net operating income continues to go up for landlords we see in 22 and 23. Consumer price index, you know, we're seeing how that really negatively impacts rent-stabilized tenants. And while their affordability goes down, we see 1.4% vacancy rates. We see that New Yorkers continue to struggle. Putting increases on rent-stabilized tenants right now would put additional risk of homelessness to those families. We see that. I saw that for the 5 years I served on the board, that every 1% increase resulted in additional homelessness. So your decisions and your actions will have direct impact on regular New Yorkers. We all know that, you know, landlords talk about struggling, but the data doesn't really bear that out. And we look at the data, you know, obviously as a state legislator, we look at the data, and we know that across the board, landlords across the board are not struggling in the way that we see tenants are struggling. And so if you think about a balance of the equities and the interests of New Yorkers, and you think about the 2.5 million New Yorkers who are living in rent-stabilized tenants, living in rent-stabilized apartments, it's really important the way we collectively need to act to protect them. So along with 20 of my colleagues, which I'll hand up, we need you now more than ever to call for a rent freeze for rent-stabilized tenants. A one-year rent freeze would be a really important moment and a message to send to all New Yorkers that we see them, that we see that they're struggling and that they need our support. It is up to you all to make that decision. As someone who's made that decision before, it is not easy, but it's critical to make it right now. I encourage you all to vote for a one-year rent freeze for stabilized tenants. They need it now more than ever. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Chloe Corby. Thank you, please.
Do I wait for this? Does it start when I start speaking? Oh, does the timer start when I start? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you for having me here today and everyone else who has come. My name is Chloe Corby, and I am here also on behalf of the United Seniors Association. My first question is to actually ask everyone in this room if you were to be asked if you would like to have your rent increased, how many people, if you could raise your hand, would say yes? So I think the census is that not one person raised their hand. Well, okay, moving forward. Okay, so, you know, if that is speaking in terms of what the people are wanting, then increasing, that shouldn't even be one of the issues. The issues are happening outside. We have an epidemic of homelessness. We have people who are having difficulties putting food on the table. We have issues with our healthcare system. We have now, in the past day, we've had where it's been too hot, and you've had elevators and Con Edison not being able to service, and people calling 311 and elderly. Thank you very much. And
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, keep going. 30
Sorry.
Keep going. Keep going.
So when you realize that instead of being reactive, I suggest for a proactive approach, we want to develop communities and make this city be better, continue to strive to work together. And in order to do that, make sure we discuss that the issues that we are really addressing are the ones that where people's hands like go up. Schools, if I may say, and in terms of emergency preparedness, we are behind. And it's, you know, instead we can mail, you know, the COVID, we were getting the tests that were expired by 2 years. How about we mail instead something where everybody can read and have the accessibility of even be able to come here to understand what the issues are and to know who our designated representatives are, know that they are constituents, have the ability to speak, and then foster and engender the right conversations, because we're not having them now. Instead, we keep coming back to this, you know, drawing board, it seems, right? Because, and that needs to end. There should be accessibility, and we can mail instead and say in terms of, you know, when there's a power outage or something, to have these schools, which people know, and it's in every vicinity, and have that specific council member district inform their constituents so they also know who they can speak with if, you know, there are issues, and prepare those schools with the, you know, necessary things, because, you know, water, it's a travesty. It's hard to watch. We see it every day, and now we want to. Instead, these people who are servicing this city are like, how are they even, you know, living here? So they're servicing, and then their commute here is they're going to leave, and then who is going to be collecting the garbage, which is piling up in masses, bringing, you know, all of this is, you know, kind of leading into it evolves into something that becomes worse. Our foundation needs to be solid. We need to support this city, show the people that they matter, that we can be better and better together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. Sheila Roan?
Oh.
No.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Sheila Roan? Oh, you went. I'm sorry. Oh, that's okay. Oh, I'm sorry. We have a speaker that hasn't gone. Let that. Ricardo Silva? Let Ricardo come first. Yeah. Yes, and then we'll let you finish, and that'll be it. Sir.
Ready? Thank you. Good morning. Thank you so much. My name is Ricardo Aca. I work at Make the Road New York, the largest member-led organization in New York that fights for the rights of immigrants and working-class people of color, including rent board and tenants, who many of you see here. I grew up in Bushwick, Brooklyn, in a rent-stabilized apartment, a block away from Maria Hernandez Park, where my parents still reside. However, Bushwick has been quickly getting gentrified. I've seen my friends who I went to high school with and neighbors be displaced due to the high rent increases. When I moved out of my parents at the age of 24, I wanted to continue living in Bushwick because I love the vibrancy that immigrant communities bring to the neighborhood. I grew up with Puerto Rican, Dominican, Ecuadorian, Mexican, and Black neighbors. Together, our cultures are what make up what people love about Bushwick. I wanted to continue to live there, but I couldn't afford it. I could not afford to live there due to the constant rent increases and greedy landlords who have successfully evicted and displaced the neighbors that I grew up with. I was able to luckily find a rent-stabilized apartment in Ridgewood 10 years ago, not too far from Bushwick and close to my parents. Yet, Ridgewood is also quickly getting gentrified too. I am afraid that if rent increases continue, my parents will be forced out of their home, be displaced, and I will not be able to live close to them. I am also afraid for me. If the rent increases continue, how much longer will I be able to afford to live in my apartment? Will I be forced out of my home too, and my neighborhood? That is why today I'm here to call for a rent freeze on behalf of my parents, my community members, and the tenants that Make the Road, and myself. The time for a rent freeze is now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Sheila, we'll let you have a second, but we ask you to be brief. Please. You're our last speaker, so come on up. Yes.
My name is not Sheila.
Oh, you're not Sheila. I'm sorry. Oh,
And don't
I'm
yell it
sorry.
out either.
We've got it.
Okay, I just want to say, you know, I know this is hard on you guys.
Okay.
And I know you got an albatross around your neck.
But
You
keep it
didn't
brief.
create this problem. You didn't. But I'm hoping that through your negotiation and your arbitration, that you'll help solve the problem. Because this is our quality of life. Okay? And landlords get the lion's share of our money. And what I mean by that is we pay for air conditioning that we don't use all year long, parking, garage space, and now they're putting Tesla charges in garages. We pay for pets, some cases repairs. One time we had to pay for a light bulb because I couldn't find it at a hardware store, the same light bulb. Late rent fees, new lease fees. Like I told you, they charged me $500. I'm fighting to get my money back because I found out it was illegal. New leases. I have to pay for a new lease. I have to pay a surcharge on a lease. I don't know if that's legal. I have to check that out. Then there's gas and electricity. There's now a new apartment insurance on parquet floors. They want you to pay for that. And other miscellaneous items. And these are the items that are killing us along with rent. So I'm just asking you to really take your time. You've listened to the people. You didn't do your homework because you didn't read what I gave you guys. So I'm giving it to you again.
Please.
Okay? Whether you want to read it or use it as toilet paper, that's your business. But think of the people when you do this, okay? You guys are good guys, and I know you are. I just hate that you're burdened with this task of trying to solve this big problem. Thank you so much. And I promise if you have another one, I won't be late.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We have
Let's solve this problem. Roll the rents back. Don't
Leticia
split the lease.
Pazminu, Leticia. I think we'll need translation.
Okay.
Please.
I got this for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Buenos días, todavía estamos antes de las 12.
Good morning, it's still before 12.
Gracias, mi nombre es Leticia.
Thank you, my name is Leticia.
Pertenezco a la organización Make the Road.
I'm a member of Make the Road organization.
Vivo muchos años, más de media vida en este país,
I've lived many years, more than half my life in this country,
y vivo en el mismo apartamento
and I live in the
desde
same
que
apartment
llegué a este país.
since I arrived to this country.
Apartamento de la familia, en generación estoy yo ahora.
It's a family apartment, like generation after generation, and I'm there now.
Mi hijo nació ahí,
My
ya
son
tiene
was-
33 años.
My 33-year-old son was born there.
Soy una madre soltera que saqué adelante a mi hijo y me siento muy orgullosa.
I'm a single mother who had my son progress, and I'm very proud of that.
Sigo trabajando y sigo pagando mis impuestos.
I keep working and I keep paying taxes.
Vivo en un apartamento de renta controlada en un edificio de 1974 años que es renta controlada.
¿Usted vive ahí desde el 74, señora?
No,
¿O
el edificio es viejo
desde
del
el
74.
I've lived in a rent-controlled apartment in a building that was erected in 1974.
Resulta que ya por varias ocasiones ha habido muchos daños y sigue habiendo daños en el apartamento hasta el momento que se cayó el techo a las 2 de la mañana de mi dormitorio.
So there have been several occasions, and we continue to have several occasions where there is constant damage and things that need repair in the building, including the ceiling that fell on me in my bedroom at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Lamentablemente, conociendo mis derechos,
And knowing my rights,
llamé al 311,
I called 311.
vino la policía,
The police arrived,
vinieron los bomberos.
the firefighters as well,
Eso fue todo para sentirme hostigada,
and that was all done to make me feel harassed.
no del dueño, porque ni siquiera saben los
No.
dueños cómo trabajan los empleados.
Not from the owners, because the owners don't even know how the employees work.
Es lo que los empleados le cuentan y les dicen y hacen un mal trabajo cuando uno pide que les arreglen el apartamento.
It's their employees who come and bother us and don't do the repairs the right way when you come and tell them that there's a problem in your apartment.
Sigo pidiendo que me arreglen el apartamento, las ventanas,
I have continuously asked for them to fix the windows in my apartment,
que no lo hacen, que yo tengo que hablar y pedirles para yo pagar eso.
which they don't do, and I have to continuously talk to them and everything, and I wind up paying for it.
No lo voy a hacer,
I'm not going to do it.
no les voy a dar el gusto,
I'm not going to give
pero
them the pleasure
tampoco,
of it.
pero tampoco podemos vivir en unas condiciones como donde hay cucarachas
But we also cannot live under conditions where we have
y que
cockroaches,
tenga que yo pagar para que me pinten cuando es obligación de ellos darles mantenimiento
and that
al apartamento.
and that I have to pay for someone to paint my apartment when that's their responsibility to provide maintenance in the apartments.
Porque si ellos no dan mantenimiento al apartamento o al edificio, se les va cayendo poco a poco y les cuesta más a los dueños.
Because if they don't provide continuous maintenance to their buildings, to the apartments are basically just going to crumble down, and that's going to cost a lot more later on.
Me gusta vivir bien, me gusta tratar de que todo esté limpio y en orden.
I'd like to live well. I like for everything to be clean and organized.
¿Y qué pasa? Que la última vez, hace 3 semanas, pedí que vinieran a arreglarme otro liqueo nuevamente.
And about 3 weeks ago, I asked them to come and fix a new leak that had just occurred
En el baño también.
in the bathroom as well.
¿Y qué pasó? Para ese trabajo estuvieron 5 personas
And what happened?
y yo trabajando sola en mi casa.
Just for that job, there were 5 people that came to fix it, and I was working alone in my home.
Donde uno de ellos me dio un grito haciéndome que me callara y queriendo comprobar si era verdad lo que yo decía.
And one of them screamed so loudly at me that for me to be quiet, and because he wanted to prove or confirm that what I was telling him was going on was actually true.
Respetuosamente le dije, usted no entra a mi apartamento nunca más y usted no me va a faltar al respeto.
And I told him, with all due respect, you are never coming inside my apartment, and you have to learn how to respect me.
Llamé a la oficina y les dejé saber que hay 5 empleados haciendo un triste trabajo que no lo pudieron hacer bien.
And I informed the office that there were 5 employees in my apartment that were not doing a really good job the way they were supposed to in fixing the problem.
Pensando que no conozco mis derechos y quisieron abusar de mi persona, andando de un cuarto a otro
Thinking
y
that
de la cocina al baño.
thinking that I did not know what my rights were and that they just wanted to traipse through the different rooms, going from like the kitchen to the bedroom, from the bedroom to the living room, different rooms,
Y ellos se pusieron más agresivos.
and they became very aggressive.
No es justo que cuando yo pida mis derechos, ellos tengan que ponerle una curita
It's not fair that when I ask for my rights to be respected, that they just basically do a little patch job with like a little Band-Aid,
y ese es todo el trabajo.
and that's the entire job.
No es justo.
It's not fair.
Pido que se congele nuestras rentas.
I'm asking for our rent to be frozen.
Como yo, todos los tenants del edificio estamos sufriendo calamidades, no solamente de las ventanas dañadas, el agua caliente y fría que tiene un desnivel que cuando uno se baña, o sale caliente o sale fría.
So I, like many tenants in my building, we are suffering all these situations, including broken windows, a situation with the hot and cold water that when you're showering, it's either hot or cold, it's not balanced out.
Y de eso hay muchas quejas más, no solamente míos como les mencioné,
And there's
sino de los demás tenants.
And there's a ton of other complaints, not just mine, including the other tenants that live there.
Los tratan mal, les gritan, no les hacen caso y yo les dejo saber cuáles son sus derechos. Háganlo.
They treat us bad, they scream at us, they don't treat us right, and I tell them, learn your rights, you should know them.
El súper debía haber perdido esa licencia de súper.
The super should have lost his license as a super.
Ahora sí tienen todas las licencias en las paredes cuando 50 años atrás no la tuvo nunca.
But now they have all their licenses posted on the wall where 50 years ago they didn't have that.
Y el building es de Royal Associated.
¿Y el edificio es qué?
De Royal Associated.
Oh, and the building belongs to Royal Associated.
Pido prestan atención a este edificio
I ask for
y
you
al
to focus on
apartamento
this building
22
and on
de la 3742 84 Street.
And I ask for you to pay attention to that apartment, to that building, specifically apartment 22, and the building is located at 3742 84th Street.
Yo no les voy a pagar las ventanas.
I am
Y las
not going-
ventanas están dañadas
I am not going to
con
continue
una
paying
abertura
rent.
de este tamaño que tengo que poner plásticos, que se ve ridículo, pero prefiero que se vea ridículo para que se vea desde la calle cómo vivimos nosotros.
The window is broken and I have a crack in my window that's like this long and I have to put a plastic on it which looks horrible, but I'd rather it look horrible and you can see it from the outside that it looks horrible so that people can see how we live.
Gracias por su atención.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Gracias. With that, we have no more speakers. So we're going to adjourn. I'm asked for a motion to adjourn. Second? Great. Well, thank you all very much for being here today. Thank you.
Gracias por asistir. Muchas gracias.